there is a disproportionate number of Black children and youth who are in foster care. How do you think Healthy Crownz is helping to reduce that?
Talking to the caregivers, talking to the youth themselves, educating the social workers, and just really driving home that point about the importance of, self-esteem and self-worth of a youth that comes into care.
Hey everyone, today on the Service Station podcast, we're spotlighting a hair care program. It's relatively new. Why hair care? Well, this is specifically to support Black children and youth who are in foster care as well as their caregivers. It's called Healthy Crownz, and we're talking about what it is, the services that are offered, and why it's so important. We have two guests for you today. Sophia Williams is an adoptions manager at Riverside County Department of Public Social Services, or DPSS. And also joining her, Courtney Henderson, who's a social worker, works with a nonprofit organization, and is a vendor that actually provides guidance and assistance when it comes to Black hair care. These two women joined together to help get Healthy Crownz off the ground here in Riverside County. Two great guests. Here's my conversation with them. Sophia, Courtney, welcome.
Hi.
Hi. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys both being here. So, all right, let's just talk big picture. Healthy Crownz, what is this and how did this come to be? Let's start with you.
So Healthy Crownz is a educational supportive resource for caregivers, Black children in foster care, and for our child welfare staff, just to give them information about how to support children and encourage them while they're in care, about proper hair care, proper skin care, educating caregivers on how to get the appropriate resources to care for children that are in their care, how to get the appropriate education as well, and further educating our child welfare staff when they're out on visits to be able to support the caregivers and the children in care.
How did you two partner together to bring this all to fruition here in Riverside County? What happened and how do you see this? Because you work with hair care.
Yes. No, well, I'm a social worker, but...
Right, but you provide guidance as part of this.
So I've been doing hair care events for foster youth since 2019, and so Sophia reached out to me and asked me to put on an event for Riverside County, so we were able to do that in 2023.
Why is this so important, this work of hair care?
Well, I think it's tied to identity. And I think that, there's so much that's lost for kids when they come into the system. And so being able to create a space where they can maintain their hair, their skincare, the things that are just, basic needs, I think is a very important thing and something that has been overlooked for a long time.
It's a morale boost.
Absolutely. And it's so empowering, like Courtney said, it's something that is very empowering and enlightening to see, kids come into care because of unfortunate circumstances, and being able to provide them with resources that continues to encourage their growth and development for years to come. It's unmeasurable.
So what does the support look like for the foster youth as well as the caregivers?
So like Courtney said about the hair care events, what's really cool about that is the youth get to come to the event, they get to pick out their own hairstyle, they get to engage in some activities, and then the caregivers are looking at their own information as well. Right. So they get to watch the stylists and the barbers. They get to, really see them in action, especially if they've never worked with that texture of hair before.
Right, because this could be new for many families.
Absolutely. And so just being able to watch all of that is education in itself. It's hands-on education that we don't normally see. And they get to ask questions too, because at your event, there were a couple of families that were asking a few questions about, what to do, what products to use. Yeah. So what we did with the program itself is we started to form a resource list of not just vendors like barbers and stylists and braiders, but also hair people that give products or provide different hair care stores or beauty salons and things of that nature, so that caregivers in their cities can say, oh, so-and-so's salon is around the corner from me. I can take a youth there, and so on and so forth.
We were talking off camera about how Healthy Crownz launched in 2022. What was the moment? This is really a twofold question, so whoever wants to start first, but what was the moment that you said, we really need to do this in Riverside County? What's the why behind this?
So the why was the need to provide services for children in care. We had seen that there was a definite need for that. There may have been caregivers who were asking, how do I care for a child with textured hair? But the actual launch in terms of the whole process came later. So talking with Courtney, seeing what she had done in the community with foster youth was just awesome. It was like, how are you doing that? Tell me more about it. And she can tell you, more of how she launched into that as well. But I wanted to see it in Riverside County because of the disparaging number of Black children that are in foster care in our county. I wanted to make sure that those children were also receiving additional support in such a very unstable type of situation of being away from their families and in foster care.
So there's, right, and I don't know if you wanted to add to that about, how all this came about. She approached you and recognizing we really need this here in the county. What was that like for you?
Well, I think it was a definite need that as a social worker I observed in the county that I worked in before. And that's kind of what the idea was born out of. So I collaborated with a local barber who had a nonprofit and had been doing work in the community. And we collaborated to put on events. So with the events that we put on, it was open to any child in any county to come and receive services. And so when it was asked to be put on in Riverside County specifically, it was just a no-brainer, because if we can, spread the services throughout our area, then we want to do that.
And just so clear, the services are exclusively at the events, right? And there's a couple a year.
Yes. So at that particular event, that was our first time out. So we were a little nervous about what was going to happen and what, when you're the first at something, you're kind of like, how is this?
Getting out of the gate.
Yeah. How is this going to look for the county itself? What do we need to cover? Who do we need to talk to be present? So those types of things. So it was interesting, but we pulled it off. And so subsequently, we wanted to see how to continue to do this for years to come, because this is not something we want to go away. So we moved more into a streamlined approach and made it a project. And now, it's a program that we are very, very proud of. And it now aligns even more so with our racial disproportionality and disparity work group. So Healthy Crownz has now become the fourth pillar of that particular work group to address the disproportionate number of Black children that are in foster care and the services are being provided.
I was going to actually come back to that, because I think that there are people who are watching who maybe have no idea that there is a disproportionate number of Black children and youth who are in foster care. What does that look like? How do you paint that picture, and how do you think Healthy Crownz is helping to reduce that?
So in foster care currently in Riverside County, as is the county I can speak to because we're here, there is definitely a disparity number of Black children and families that are in foster care at this time. And so to address that, we have developed the disproportionality and disparity work group that addresses how children are coming into care, what rate they're coming in, what type of intervention is the county putting in place to meet these families before they even enter into foster care. And once they are in care, what does prevention services look like to have them exit foster care? And so it's called RDD. So our RDD work group is working at decreasing the number of families Black families that come into care by 10%. But while they're here, that's where Healthy Crownz come in. So this is where
providing those educational
correct,
resources.
Giving that education, talking to the caregivers, talking to the youth themselves, educating the social workers, and just really driving home that point about the importance of, self-esteem and self-worth of a youth that comes into care, because the other piece of that disproportionate number is that as much as they're coming into care, they're leaving care at a very slower rate. So they're languishing in foster care longer than they should. And so again, what do we do to support those youth when they're here?
What would you two want, people who are watching this, there may be potential vendors out there who are watching this, or caregivers who need this support. What would you want them to take away from this conversation?
I think just that, as with any need that a child has that comes into the home, this is equally as important, and that there's resources and support that is available to them. They just need to seek it out and be willing to, bring the child, the resources and services into their home.
Speak up, say, I could use support with this.
And then I hope that, if there are people who are able to provide the service and have a heart for the work, that they, would reach out and be willing to volunteer, or be willing to, offer their services to the kids that need them.
Yeah. You all have an email that I know they can take action with, whether it's a caregiver who's looking for the support Courtney's talking about, a vendor who may be interested in volunteering. I believe it's DPSS_healthy_Crownz with a Z at rivco.org. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And so would that be a good way that people can reach out to you all if they want to take action?
Absolutely. Please tell whoever if this is definitely a passion or a desire to assist and support our Black children in care and caring for their hair and their skin. We really do welcome folks to email that inbox. We do check that inbox daily, and we'll reply to individuals that reach out as well.
I guess I just kind of want to wrap up with this. Do you all talk to people after they receive these services, and what kind of stories do you hear? Do you feel like people are really appreciative that this is out there?
So I'll let Courtney go first.
I get calls all the time. I haven't done an event since 2023, and I still get calls of caregivers wanting resources, and so of course I link them. I get calls from stylists and barbers asking me when the next event will be, wanting to donate their time. I've seen just the impact that it's had on the kids after they, get out of the chair, and their whole mood and energy has shifted. They're excited to take pictures. They're, feeling good about themselves. And so that makes it all worth it.
Yeah, I mean, and we've talked a little bit about this too. You want to, after you have an experience like that, you want to go out, you want to go to school. I mean, the things that we want these kids to feel confident about, this helps build that.
Absolutely. Prom is coming up.
Right.
We have a lot of youth that are in care that are going to prom, and, they reach out about those things as well. Even going to school, that, ability to just feel alive and excited. I have a new hairdo, I want to go show it off, kind of thing. So really excited about that as well. We do have a upcoming event in June, and we're hopeful, that we'll be having hair care services there as well, and workshops and things of that nature to support our caregivers and our staff and youth that attend. So we're very excited.
Sounds great. Thank you both so much for taking your time, coming on the service station. Appreciate it. So whether you're a vendor or you're a caregiver, if you want access to these educational resources through Healthy Crownz, you can email us, and that email is here at the bottom of your screen. It's DPSS_healthy_Crownz with a Z at rivco.org. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the podcast, comment. All of that helps us. We appreciate the feedback. It helps make for a better podcast for you. And we're also here at DPSS on all the major social media platforms. So don't forget to follow us at Rivco DPSS. Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope you join us for the next episode.